Well, hi, it's Donna with Your Time to Blossom. And here we are again on Wednesday at 2 o'clock Pacific time. And I'm here to visit with you and ponder yet another aspect of where we find ourselves at this time in our lives, especially as women 50 and older in transition. Last week, we reflected a little bit on the whole aspect of loneliness. It's a big issue for women at this time in our lives. And we recognize that at times the fear of loneliness holds us back from making decisions that really and truly are in our best interest. And today I got the inspiration to kind of look at the other side of the coin, the aspect of being alone. And let's kind of unwrap this package and take a look at it that being lonely, feeling lonely, is it the same as being alone? Just kind of think about that and think about your own experience. Uh, have you had moments of being alone but not feeling lonely? I dare to say you've had moments like that. Quite possibly you were out in nature and you may have been there on your own, alone, but not in the least bit feeling lonely. You may have been in touch with the awesomeness of the beauty of whatever you were looking at and caught up in that and recognizing we are not really and truly alone ever. There's a presence that's with us at all times. And the day that that really dawns on us and really sinks in, the fear of loneliness begins to fade away. And I I have several several little ways to go with this. Um, since our last visit here on the video, I posted a quote that I came across that I'm sure you've heard before, but it's a clever play on words and really and truly um, captures the truth. And it goes like this: if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So this is kind of what we're doing today. We're kind of looking at this lonely, alone uh, experience that we go through. And we find that if we are willing, a lot of willingness and trust comes into this. If we're willing to look at this differently, our experience of it will dramatically change. I've had the experience myself. Many times on many topics, but today the one we're focusing on is loneliness and alone. And so I came to understand one way to kind of walk through this is, first off, as with almost everything in our lives, to stop, probably to breathe deeply. Let's do that now. And come back into our center. Come back into our heart. And if you feel so inclined, even place your hand on your heart. and see if this reflection can come from that place and not from our head. We're so, in our culture, in our Western culture, living in our heads practically 24/7. And really and truly, when we drop down into our hearts, we come up with a very different perception of things. So let's take a look and just realize and recognize. And you might actually see if you can come up with a memory of a time when you did feel lonely. Quite possibly it was during a holiday. That's a time when this loneliness issue gets triggered a lot. And just recognize that at that moment you were feeling alone. Pardon me, you were feeling lonely. Yeah, just recognize that. And then talk about it. There may not be someone around that can actually witness this for you. So I invite you, another way of talking about it is to journal. I find that very, very helpful myself. Or you can talk about it to yourself. If you're on your own, you can even talk about it to yourself out loud. And begin to hear what you're saying. How are you talking to yourself about this experience of feeling lonely? Get in touch with not just the experience, but how you're talking to yourself about it and how you're looking at it. Okay, and then whatever is going on that triggered that reaction, grieve the loss. There was a loss somewhere there of someone, something, whatever. Acknowledge the loss and grieve it. Feel the feelings. Feel the loss. This is what we really do. Everything in our capacity to do is run away from that because we don't want to feel the pain. But I'm here to say, and I've experienced it myself, that as I allow that feeling to come up and actually honor it and let it move through my system, it actually moves through and out. And it leads to freedom. It leads to freedom from fear of loneliness. This is all very paradoxical, and this is the gift of aging, that we're coming to a time in our lives where we can hold the dichotomy, the contrast, and we can hold the paradox. We can hold what does not seem, it just doesn't seem possible that both could coexist. And we're living long enough to know that the duality of our existence really is an illusion, and that really and truly everything can coexist. All right, so what we're trying to do here is, as we move through these experiences of loneliness, we acknowledge and recognize that that's what's happening. Possibly you can get to the point of doing it in the moment when it's happening, but between now and then, you can do it with memory. talk about it. Talk about it to yourself, journal about it, move it, dance it. If you have someone who will witness it and hold it with you and not try to fix it, talk about it with that person. Grieve the loss, feel the loss, and then that will lead to freedom, actual freedom from the fear of loneliness. All right. And so, with that, I'm going to end with a quote that I foolishly put on a colored piece of paper that's making it more difficult for me to read right now um, with my aging eyes, huh? Uh, but I'll do my best. This is from Eckhart Tolle. And sometimes what he has to say is a bit ethereal and hard to grasp. But hopefully, after what we've just reflected on and possibly experienced, his words will ring true and verify uh, what this is all about. So this is what Eckhart Tolle has to say. To know yourself as the being underneath the thinker, the stillness underneath the mental noise, the love and joy underneath the pain is freedom. All right, I'll read that one more time just because he packs a lot in a few words, but this really is a pithy way of getting to the heart of what this is all about. It truly is a mystery, and it's something to be lived into. Our heads are not going to figure this out. In fact, what we're being invited to do is to drop out of our heads, down into our heart, and into our intuitive center. And then we will live into the understanding of what Eckhart Tolle is trying to tell us. So, one final time. To know yourself as the being underneath the thinker, the stillness underneath the mental noise, the love and joy underneath the pain is freedom. And that's my wish for you this week, is that you can hold, you hear me say that many times, hold the paradox, hold the whole range of experience here, hold the fear of loneliness, hold the reality that being alone is a very different reality and experience, and grow into all of this. And I look forward to talking to you again next week. In the meantime, please leave a comment if you've got if this triggers anything within you, if you've got an example of how you've moved through something like this and where it brought you to, what new moment. And we'll continue to explore these kinds of life experiences from the perspective of this time in our lives now. Some people call it the third chapter, the third act. So here we are. All right, sending you all my love and support, and wishing you a wonderful week of insight and freedom. Bye-bye for now.